and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. South Africa's National Institute for Communicable Diseases, NICD, has reported the identification of a potential variant of interest called C12. During a virtual media briefing Monday night, the NICD said that the lineage of first found in the country in May this year, although the Delta variant continued to cause the majority of infections in the country. Professor Penny Moore, a senior scientist of the body, said that the C12 was at a low frequency currently between 2% and 3% of infections, but this was gradually increasing month by month, and for this reason, they were watching the situation closely. South Africa has been badly hit by the pandemic, with cases of both the Delta and Beta variants that are highly transmissible.
C.1.2 remains a very, very low minority variant in South Africa. At present, the pandemic in South Africa continues to be dominated by Delta. So I think probably the most important thing that we want to emphasize in this press briefing is that C.1.2 is present at very low levels. At this stage, we do not have experimental data to confirm how it reacts in terms of sensitivity to antibodies. But based on what we do know from other variants, and based on the fact that some of the mutations in C.1.2 are shared with these other variants, we have considerable confidence that the vaccines that are being rolled out in South Africa will continue to protect us against severe disease and death.
The exact threat from this variant, we don't really know yet. We're not at the stage of fully understanding that. The reason we were worried about the kind of combination of mutations was that many of the mutations we see in this C.1.2 are the same mutations we've seen in some of the other variants of concern, particularly the beta and the alpha and the gamma. But it's in a different combination. The two main things that we're worried about are that it could have enhanced transmissibility, so it could spread more efficiently from person to person, and it could, like some of the other variants, it could partially get around some of the immune response, either from a previous infection or from vaccination. And so those are the things we now need to get a better understanding of.
Dr. Akiala Ishaku is a molecular virologist and a public health epidemiologist. He joins us now for more on this. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Ishaku. The world is barely able to put the Delta variant under control, and now this new discovery in South Africa. How concerned should we be about this variant, although the WHO has not termed it a variant of concern?
Yeah, the new variant C.1.2 is a variant that was discovered in South Africa. This variant has similar associated mutation on the spike protein, like the alpha, the beta, and the delta variants. The lineage are quite similar to that of the beta variants. Now, what the scientists in South Africa did through genomic surveillance and epidemiology was to alert the WHO about these variants. And so WHO has not yet considered this variant as a variant of interest or as a variant of concern. But we need to be alert about these variants, need to mount proper surveillance on our airports and all our point of entry. We need, as a country, to go into robust genomic epidemiology and surveillance. Maybe perhaps because the transmissibility probability profile of this variant is between 2 to 3%. And just this evening, other African countries like DRC Congo and other Asian countries have also discovered these variants. So it calls on our government as a country, Nigerian government, to mount more surveillance. I'm quite sad that it is all the variants have been discovered in South Africa. This is because they go into robust genomic epidemiology. And this is what I wish that our country, Nigeria, can also go into that.
Well, the scientists say they found that it spreads at the same rate as the Delta variant. Now, how can we tell the difference?
Yeah, the difference is that the variant of that was discovered, the C1, C.1.2 variant, is similar to that of the Delta variant in terms of their transmissibility. This is because from the survey that was done in South Africa, 95% of unvaccinated individuals were seen to have 80% of these variants. It shows that the variant is more among the unvaccinated than the vaccinated. So in terms of similarity, in terms of lineage, their probability index is about 90%, sharing lineage with Beta and Delta variants.
Well, speaking about vaccinations, just like you mentioned there, vaccinations are currently ongoing. Can we trust existing COVID-19 vaccines to protect against this variant, at least for now?
Actually, the vaccines, the vaccination program going on now, because the vaccines are produced to be able to handle a wide range of what we refer to as sequence of amino acids, nucleotides in terms of the mRNA. And so the vaccines covers, and it's quite effective. If the lineage is similar to that of the Beta variants, and then the vaccines also covers that of the Delta variants, it is quite sure to say conclusively that the vaccine is quite efficacious. So the vaccine can actually cover us. Now, what we just need to do more is, because this is a new disease, this is a new viral disease that, it involves daily and emerges in terms of clinical outcomes. What we need to do is to study more whether these variants can be able to invade immune response as a result of either natural immunity or as a result of immunity acquired by vaccination. So we need to do more, keep our hope high that the vaccines that we have that are available can be able to handle this. And also vaccinologists are actually working around the clock to see how they can be able to produce a polyvalent vaccine, viral vaccine, that will be able to take care of all the variants that are emerging.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Dr. Akiala Ishaku, molecular virologist. Thank you for your thoughts on the program.
Thank you for having me.
About 100,000 Kenyans have not yet received a second dose of the COVID vaccine, with many thought to be holding out for the arrival of other jabs perceived to be more effective. The head of Kenya's vaccine task force warns that many Kenyans risk becoming severely ill with COVID-19 if they delay getting their second jabs. The task force says the country will not mix and match any of the vaccines available, as there is limited data on how effective it would be. Until recently, AstraZeneca has been the only vaccine available in Kenya. However, shipments of Moderna have already arrived, and Pfizer and other vaccines are on the way. But the task force is clear that no one will be allowed to choose the vaccine they receive. It is also asking people to dismiss the notion that some vaccines are better than others. Out of the 2 million Kenyans who have been vaccinated, less than 50% are fully jabbed, and the country has received 3.6 million vaccines to date. In Niger, at least 83 people have been killed by a cholera outbreak, where authorities have recorded more than 2,300 cases since the 13th of March. 6 out of Niger's 8 regions have been affected by the outbreaks, which have been worsened by floods. Now, the cholera epidemic was officially declared on August 9th by the Health Minister, Idi Liasu Mainsara. To politics now, leader of Tanzania's main opposition party, Freeman Mbowe, has appeared in court to face terrorism charges in a case denounced by his supporters as a politically motivated move aimed at crushing dissent. The 59-year-old chairman of the Chadema party has been behind bars since July 21st, when he was arrested, along with other senior party officials, in a nighttime police raid just hours before they were to hold a public forum to demand constitutional reforms. The trial at the country's High Court in Dar es Salaam opened on Tuesday under tight security. President Samia Suluhu Hassan's government, citing COVID-19 regulations and security, had warned foreign diplomats against turning up to the court to follow the case without notifying the foreign ministry. Well, the UN Security Council has renewed for a year sanctions imposed against targeted individuals and entities in Mali for obstructing the 2015 peace agreement. The sanctions include a year-long travel ban and an asset freeze to last until the 31st of August next year. They had been due to expire on Tuesday. Now, those targeted are accused of involvement in planning, implementing or perpetrating acts that violate international humanitarian law, including attacks on medical or humanitarian personnel. Human rights violations and abuses have increased significantly this year. That's according to the UN peacekeeping mission in the country, MINUSMA. The UN Security Council requested that the UN chief include in his next report on MINUSMA an update on measures taken to ensure that sanctioned individuals did not benefit from any UN support in Mali. The UN Environment Programme, UNEP, says leaded petrol has been eliminated after the world's last remaining stocks were used up last month. Now, this follows a 19-year campaign to end the use of the poisonous substance that poses major health and environment risks. UNEP said Algeria, the only country which was still pumping leaded petrol into vehicles, exhausted its final stocks in July. The agency said the petrol contaminates air, soil and drinking water and can cause heart disease, stroke and cancer. Some studies have even also shown it harms brain development, especially in children.
Leaded fuel illustrates, in a nutshell, the kind of mistakes that humanity has been making at every level of our societies. The kind of mistakes that have brought us to the triple planetary crisis, the crisis of climate change, the crisis of biodiversity loss, and the crisis of pollution. It is in the global response to leaded fuels shows that humanity can learn from and fix mistakes that we made. We got where we are today thanks to this innovative public-private partnership for clean fuels and vehicles, the PCFV, for which UNEP provides the secretariat.
Today we celebrate a milestone for multilateralism, the culmination of a united global effort to rid the world of lead in petrol, a major threat to human and planetary health. This international success story comes after a 20-year public-private initiative led by the United Nations Environment Programme. When the campaign began, 86 countries were still using leaded fuel. Today, there are none. We must now turn the same commitment to ending the triple crisis of climate disruption, biodiversity loss, and pollution. We need to shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy. We need global mobility with no emissions at all. We must reform our energy, food, and financial systems to create a world of peace that works with nature, not against it.
Benue State here in Nigeria, which is the nation's food basket, has posted a 21.4% food inflation for the month of July 2021, higher than the national food inflation rate of 21% due to the displacement of almost 2 out of the estimated population of 7 million residents. A former economic advisor to President Goodluck Jonathan, Professor Ode Ojowu, who is also the chairman of the State Economic Advisory Committee, disclosed the statistics at the Benue stakeholders meeting on security and the sale of moribund government companies and assets. To address the challenges of displacement and impending food crisis, a Second Republic Minister, Mr. Paul Ngongo, advises the president to help with a solution to herdsmen attacks in Benue State.
This is Wukurum Roundabout, which houses the symbol of the food basket in Benue State. It's the gateway through Benue from the north to the south and confers the status of food basket on the state. But things have taken a worrisome dimension, with the price of food on a steady increase after armed herdsmen began invading the state over a decade ago. To give a few examples, a bag of gari was 28,000 naira in 2018. It now costs 50,000 naira. A bag of soybeans was 18,000 naira 3 years ago, but it now sells for 35,000 naira. While a tuber of yam goes for 1,700 naira, it used to be 200 naira. Stakeholders gather at the government house to discuss the way out. As a former economic advisor to the office of the president joins the discussion, which focuses on the privatization of state-owned moribund companies, which are mostly agro-allied companies.
Benue's food inflation for July 2021 was 21.4%. and is the third highest in the North Central Zone, outside of Kogi and Kwara, and is higher than the nation's average for July of 21%, and is the 13th highest in the country.
Concerned that the president is not getting a clear picture about the aftermath of the security situation, an octogenarian who was a Second Republic minister asks President Buhari to listen to the cry of the governor of Benue State.
What you are doing, Mr. Governor, you are crying out that what is happening to your people is not right, and it isn't right. And Mr. President should listen. It is not personal. People who are trying to personalize this are not doing this country well.
Meanwhile, Governor Autumn wants indigents to form partnerships to acquire the companies with a view to turning them around for good.
Can join hands and take over responsibility. All that we're concerned is let these industries work. And you're free, you're all stakeholders. Please, come and take them. They are there for you to take. And as a government, we are expecting jobs, profits, revenue, dividends, economic growth. Indeed, with the privatization, we are more likely to live up to our reputation.
Another major problem the state wants to resolve is the issue of internally displaced persons, numbering about 2 million according to the state government, most of whom were farmers cultivating the state's arable land before the crisis began.
Diners, sellers and government officials in Burkina Faso say their locally rare poulet bicyclette is in a league of its own. Now efforts are underway for the poultry known as bicycle chickens to be branded as such. Take a look.
Kader Drago is enjoying a plate of grilled chicken with his friends in the park, but this isn't any old poultry. People in Burkina Faso say their local birds are in a league of their own and should be recognized as such.
The local chicken is very good. We meet with friends and eat. It's very good, very natural. It really allows us to get together. It's excellent compared to other chickens. When it's natural, we can eat without it being harmful to our health.
According to government figures, around 130,000 bicycle chickens are delivered to wholesalers, restaurants and individual customers every day in Burkina Faso's two biggest cities, Ouagadougou and Bobo-Dioulasso.
Bicycle chickens are 8 months old before being consumed, while broilers are at most 40 days old. There's not too much fat in the local chickens, but for the broilers, because they are fed with feed, they have too much fat that can make you sick. That's why they're not the same thing.
For those who earn a living from bicycle chicken, the labeling scheme is a dream come true. Often forced to sell at lower prices to compete with imported birds, the city's cooks and bike riders struggle to produce enough product to make up for the price deficit while also satisfying stratospheric demand.
We are in the process of branding. It is not yet completely done. because it takes time. It is a set of activities and meetings as well, at the level of the services of the state, as well as at the level of the processors of the bicycle chicken, and even the breeders. So we are in the process of meeting with all of them, so that afterwards we officially recognize that our local chicken is called bicycle chicken.
By turning bicycle chicken into an officially labeled brand, officials in Burkina Faso hope to help the industry develop even more.
From large lizards to deadly snakes, Mohamed Aziz Abdallah catches different kinds of reptiles from the wilderness of his hometown, Zagouan. Now the young Tunisian is trying to raise awareness about the animals online.
22-year-old Mohamed Aziz Abdallah catches different kinds of reptiles in Tunisia to film them for his YouTube channel, which he uses as a platform to raise awareness about the country's wildlife and the importance of preserving it.
I hunt snakes in general. I started with snakes when I was young, and then I started hunting scorpions, then all types of reptiles. After hunting, I do a lot of research and spread awareness among people about them through videos on my YouTube channel. I talk about reptiles in Tunisia and wildlife in general.
Having produced many videos, the animal enthusiast teaches his followers about the country's exotic wildlife and how to deal with them. When he first started his project 8 years ago, he faced a lot of criticism for catching and raising wild animals. But as his followers increased, he started seeing more positive comments.
When I started in this field, I faced a lot of bullying from many people through comments on the internet. People asking why I took up this strange hobby or why I hunt and raise reptiles.
There are many people who call us after Abdullah became famous in our community through YouTube as a reptile hunter. People who have reptiles in their homes call him to come and catch them. There is more awareness among people.
Abdallah, who studies image technology, releases the wild animals back into the wild once he finishes his research and videos about them.
And that's it on the program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Adigoki.